Hi, Tammy. Hope all is well.
Hello, Sid. Yes, thank you. All well on my side. How's everything going on your side?
I'm fine. It's a beautiful sunny day, and I'm looking forward to finally seeing you in Durban.
Ah, yes, yes, definitely. Trust me, a lot of people keep asking me, when are you coming down? We're waiting. So, yeah, a few minutes. Well, a happy 1st of April. It's a few more days and then I will be down.
Yeah, they normally call it April Fool's Day. I never really understood that concept.
Yeah, we when my mom was alive, my sons played a prank with her, and it went very south. And after that, I said, no,
Oh,
not again. Yeah, the older people tend to take things a little bit too seriously. So yeah, I've never really played that after the time. I did actually do it with my husband the once, and I
oh
fooled
gosh.
him because I was nauseous the one day, and
Oh
really, and
gosh.
I said, "Oh shit, here comes it. I'm sure I'm pregnant."
Oh my
Yeah.
God. All
He
right.
he actually he was so welcomed. It wasn't the reaction that I was expecting really, because I've got two sons, and he says, "Oh, as long as it's a girl, I don't mind." So yeah, I didn't go as I planned.
Awesome. As usual, it's always a pleasure to have you on, especially on today's topic when I had pitched it to you, finding yourself abroad. And now to get the ball rolling with you, Tammy, is moving to a new country can be life-changing. How did living abroad shape or challenge your sense of identity?
Ooh, living abroad has um, a way of quietly, sometimes abruptly,
Mhm.
reshaping you as you see yourself, depending on where you actually go to. Some places it's a very cold culture, and other places it's like, you're in the hustle and the bustle. So it often starts with small things, and one of the major things is language barriers. So you're unfamiliar with the social norms. You got to get to know the lingo. Certain things that you use in your country generally is not accepted abroad, and even hand gestures, facial expressions. There's a lot that you need to learn about a particular country that you're moving to. Do the homework first, I would say. Get to know what social media is so large, and it actually and people, it's not like before where there's so much. If you want to apply for a job in a certain country, it's like you're going to be walking on water before you're going to get accepted there. Now it's a little bit more flexible, and there's a lot of people moving around the globe, I would say. So if you are moving, I mean, in the past 7 years alone, I know of at least about 8 people, more actually, that have moved to various parts of the world. A lot have moved to the Scandinavian countries, to the Netherlands, to the Eastern countries, like myself in the East. And one of the biggest shifts that people experience is becoming aware of their own culture, their own identity, and it's like things that you never questioned before, like your humor, your communication style, values that suddenly stand out in bright bold letters for you. You must also find yourself explaining a lot about your background more often, and maybe even sometimes defending it. And it can often deepen with more understanding. The For me, for example, I am South African Indian, with Indian heritage. And when I go abroad, people look at me and they say, "Where are you from?" And when I say I'm South African, third generation South African, it's like, really? So they are under this, it's the stereotype. They're under the impression that you should be black.
Hmm.
When I was in Saudi, it was worse because as soon
Gosh.
as I said I I am South African, it's like, you are a maid. they would ask me up front, "Are you a maid?" That's the connotation that they had associated to South Africa. So it's very different, and a lot of people cannot understand. Like when I was in India, people even in India, I seem to be like a misfit because I don't speak any of the the languages like
Mm,
Hindi or Tamil or anything, and they couldn't find. They used to ask, "Are you Malaysian? Are you Singaporean? Where do you fit in? Where do you come from?" So those are the type of things. There's also challenges around loneliness, especially if you're going there as a single person. If you're going abroad, I would say going to work as a single person, there's cultural shocks that can really push its limits to you, especially if you've got no support system, being abroad. If you're delving into uncharted territories where you don't have friends and family that are close, that or people that have walked the path before that can give you the tips and the tricks of how you go about things, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Simple interactions just feel so exhausting sometimes, and
mm,
people tend, what I find in the East especially, people tend, especially with females, they tend to sort of enclose themselves in their apartments. They very much to themselves, and they're within their four walls, and they become very, very lonely. So you need to have there's challenges around adaptability, resilience, and empathy, I would say, as well. So when you become more comfortable at navigating the differences, the ambiguities that you faced with, I think you sort of ease in, and it's not a switch where it's going to happen
mm.
after a month. It would
Cool.
You need to give yourself time. It's going to take you to time, lots of time. So for many people, the biggest takeaway is this identity becomes less fixed and more intentional. What is it? Am I getting out of it? What do I want? Also,
Mm,
like in Dubai and in Saudi, remember it's short spaces of time that you've got your contractual employment. So instead of being something that you're going to inherit, it's see it as like maybe like a passing phase that you're going through, and try not to reshape yourself too much. Understand, respect, I would say respect is one of the key things that you should understand. Respect the culture, respect the people, respect the norms, especially the rules like the police, etc. Get to know those types of things, because sometimes you can actually be heavily fined as well if you don't know. One of the things in the East that used to happen about, I'd say about 8 years back in Saudi Arabia, they used to have the mutabaks, and they were the religious police. They would actually have these batons, and they would come and they would tap you on the shoulder. They would actually tap the husband on the shoulder because you couldn't actually be walking around on your own as a female, and you only had to wear a black abaya. If you had anything other than the norm, they would tap the husband on the shoulder and they would actually ask you to go and change. So, in a nutshell, if you are thinking about moving or already have, you got to understand which part do you think would challenge you the most. Is it
mm,
fitting in or holding on to what you already have? And from living abroad, in various different places, I would say that you really do your homework, get in touch with social media, ask a lot of questions, and don't become a hermit. Rather go
mm,
out, explore. I know of a few people that I've heard of, even in my apartment building back in Dubai, where people have actually taken their lives because of depression, because of loneliness. So don't, the world is so vast, technology is so vast now. So don't become that type of a person. And also, the other thing I'd like to mention is, in South Africa, we are so spoiled. We are really,
mm,
really so spoiled. We have the best weather. The best food. My son just came back from Europe last week, and he said to me, he says, "Mommy, I'm never going to complain about the food prices in South Africa again." I mean, I've been to Europe. I've been to, it was my birthday, and I said, I'm going out for this fancy dinner. And we went, it was right near the Eiffel Tower, and we went to a lovely French restaurant. And if you're ordering a meat dish, I ordered a chicken breast, and all I got on my plate was the chicken breast. There was no garnish, no salad, no sides, nothing. And remember,
Wow.
yes, it was like so weird. And I looked at this thing and it looked so sad, really looked sad as a meal. And I said, "Where's the rest?" So they said, "What do you want? Do you want salad? You need to order that separately." So I said, "Yes, I wanted salad." I ordered the salad and I got a bowl full of lettuce. That was it. So,
Oh,
South Africa, we are truly, truly spoiled.
yeah. Awesome. All right, we'll get to the comments quickly. There are two here from Rish Jitten. All right. Hi, Tammy. The one thing I noticed when abroad, we are asked about the living conditions because I am from Africa. They think we are rural, or I think she was trying to say in the next comment, we are third world.
Yes, so often I get that as well. You know, there's still people that think, you know, there's still a lot of stereotypes that think, oh, are they animals walking your streets? You know, they don't realize how well our infrastructure is in South Africa. They think that we're still on dirt roads, and you know, we go and pump our water and so forth. So a lot of people have still the very backward thinking about people coming from South Africa. But people who don't really watch the news, who don't um, read up about different places, especially about South Africa, they actually have the wow factor. One of the famous DJs in Dubai, he actually came to open up the Villamora restaurant here, Chris Fade, and he was actually pleasantly surprised at how similar Australia is to South Africa. And a lot of the places in the world, when you ask for tomato sauce, they don't know what you're talking about. If you in Egypt, if you ask for tomato sauce, they're giving you a tomato chutney, and but here in South Africa, it's tomato sauce. Other places in the world, it's ketchup. So, you know,
Mm.
there's a lot of similarities between Australia and South Africa. And he actually mentioned the one place that he would like to come and settle down in, or come and visit, is South Africa, because it's so beautiful. The people are so friendly, the food is so good, and the weather is amazing.
And that's true. I can concur with you regarding Australia because I was in Australia a few years ago for a function.
Yeah. Yes, it's lovely. The only thing I miss there is, you know, you don't really have maid services,
Mhm.
or if you do, it's like pretty expensive. Everybody does their own thing. So yeah, that's the only part that, because I'm very lazy when it comes to housework, really.
Do you think people lose parts of themselves when they move abroad, or do they discover new versions of who they are?
Oh, I would say a little bit of both, actually. People really just lose themselves. Living abroad tends to strip away what was automatic and reveal what is
Mm,
essential, you know. And while it's also adding new layers to you,
mm,
there's so much that you actually learn. It's also less about losing who you are, but more about evolving into a
mm,
broader version of yourself, learning, growing. If I can advise any teenage person that, or a young adult that is coming out of university, go abroad, go and do those Kontiki tours, go and venture out. If you've never been abroad, go and venture out, see how it is, that how people live in other countries, how simple things in certain places. And you know, with me, when I go on holiday, when I visit someplace new, Don't take me to the concrete jungle. I've seen that. I want to go to the rural parts where you get the core identity of the place. Like if you're going to Vietnam or to India, go and visit those back streets. Go and visit the places they tell you don't go and visit, also within reason. And you'll actually see, you get actually a bigger picture of how well South Africa is and how spoilt you are in your own country. And even when, in terms of like simple commodities that we think that we're paying an arm and a leg for, but when you go abroad and you look at these people, how they're paying for simplistic things, they're paying such a fortune for. Or on the other hand, like in the East, yes, today the fuel price went up, and compared to the East, I mean, we're paying something like just over 20 rand now for fuel, and there in the East, it's working out to about 10, 12 rand thereabout for fuel. So you look at how what people put value in certain places as well. So it's a real big eye opener, and I would strongly recommend anybody that has finished university that wants to venture out, if you can afford it, go and do one of those Contiki tours. Go and, even if it just means you going somewhere, even a short distance away, go and do it just to get a broader understanding of what is out there in the world.
It's so true. What are some common emotional or psychological struggles expats face when they're trying to fit while staying true to themselves?
Ooh, I would say expat often you feel like you're pulled in two directions. The one you're wanting to belong, and then
Mhm.
the other side is you also not wanting to lose yourself. The tension can show up in, I'd say, in a few ways. You have like identity confusion, where you might start questioning, like, who am I? Who am I really? The cultural norms, where I would say don't try to fit in. This is the mistake that a lot of people make. Don't
Mm.
try to fit in. Yes, you're going to have times where you're going to feel like an imposter syndrome, but that's where I feel that you lose your identity, because I went for an interview in Dubai, and there was the entire floor, it was one floor, it was 67 people in this. It was a logistics company, and every one of them were Indians from India. And so I went labeled as Indian, and I was seen as a total misfit. The Don't try. That's, if you have the imposter syndrome, it's fine. Go with it. Don't pretend that you belong, because in the long run it can cost you. So if
Yeah.
something doesn't work out for you, you know be a big person and say, cheers, this is not for me, walk away. The other things are loneliness and isolation. Even in social settings, you will find people, like in January this year, I heard the term where somebody said, do you want to go and vomit? And I thought, what did you just say? And so the person was Australian, and they said he spoke to another Indian guy, and obviously they've been together for a while, so they understood. And he said, so in Australia they say, if you want to go and like really go and drink and like let your hair down, you drink
Oh,
till the point that you vomit. So they don't say let's go and have a drink, they say, do you want to go and vomit? And I thought, how weird. So it's
yeah.
those type of things. The other thing that I giggled about is my friend's boyfriend is Australian, and he said, oh, I'm going to Jimmy Riddle. And I thought I heard this before. And then after he left, I said, what did he just say and where's he going to? And she says, oh no, when he's going to the men's room, it's called Jimmy Riddle. So he says, I'm going to Jimmy Riddle. So it's those kind of things that you need to familiarize yourself with. The other thing I would say, ask questions. No question is too dumb, because like
Yeah.
especially in Dubai, you've got such a myriad of cultures coming together. So sometimes people are very open and very willing to to explain, rather, what things mean, how they operate with certain things in their countries. So they're very forthcoming with information, with explaining things to you, and so don't feel that pressure to assimilate, or change your behavior, or even your accent, values, to be accepted. It's fine, a certain time. Like, I know. Certain times in certain places where I find, like, certain friends that come abroad there, and they stay in some places in Dubai. And yes, we have delivery service of food. You have Telebot, you have Noon, you have Kita. There's so much, and it's 24/7. So especially some people that are, the religious ones that have the certain days of fasting, and they won't eat out or something. It's not always easy to find, like, proper vegetarian food. There's lots of vegetarian restaurants, don't get me wrong, but if you are in a hotel where they're serving a continental breakfast, it's I've seen it, where you would have, well, the one good thing is you would not find pork in any of the menus openly in an open setting, right?
Yeah.
the But sometimes, like, if you have sausages, for example, and then if you have mushrooms, so you have the tongs for the sausages, and somebody, one of the visitors or the patrons would use the tongs for the sausage, and then use it for the mushrooms. Yet they're two separate ones, but you do have that. Um, and in certain places, I know I've stayed in a hotel in Abu Dhabi where there was a lot of Indians in the restaurant, and a lot of the Indians, they're vegetarian, so they had a separate station altogether for the vegetarian setup. You do face certain things, and people don't understand the idea of how the local Hindus have the day of fasting, because it's either you're vegetarian or you're not. They don't understand that concept. So there's certain things, and don't be hard on yourself, I would say, to have guilt that, oh, I'm using the same spoon or whatever it is. Yes, fried chips, you'll never go wrong, because fried chips around the world, it's a norm that you would use a separate, what do you call it, like a fryer, a separate fryer
Mm.
for your slab chips, your French fries, whatever you call it. So don't be too hard on yourself, and with that, I would say you have less emotional fatigue, constantly trying to adjust and interpret and second guessing yourself. It's just going to be so mentally draining. The thing that I also stopped is comparing food prices. The what's nice in the East is I can get beautiful mangoes all year round. I can get the best of fruit because everything is imported, right?
Mm.
And you can get anything, everything. Sometimes I see South African fruit that I've never seen here. I mean, you've got Granny Smith apples, yay big, which we don't see here because it's the export quality. So I would say over time, people learn to balance this integrating rather than choosing, and also keep to your values while adapting, portraying portraying outward, and adjust your behaviors where you need be. It's not easy, but it often leads to a stronger you, more self-awareness, and you have still your sense of identity instead of losing it.
So it's basically one has to be humble and authentic when they're in country like Dubai and so on.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. How can someone rebuild confidence and a sense of purpose when starting over in a new country?
So I would say start small. Do a lot of journaling. Yes, I know I may sound old school, but do a lot of journaling. Start small and stay consistent. Build up your routines, of how you do things. Set achievable goals. Set if you know you're going to be there for a specific period of time, or if you know you moved abroad long term. So set achievable goals. Celebrate yourself, celebrate the quick wins. Like, I know when I got there and I got my driver's license, it was such an amazing feeling for me. That, I mean, I got my license many years ago, but to get your license in a different country, I've got an international license, so it was a wow factor for me. Those little things, celebrate those little wins. It it just gives you like a sense of control. It restores that sense of control. I would say a strong, strong point: connect with people, even if it's a few people. Even if you are in an apartment building, or we call it a compound there as a complex here, go and find out who your neighbors are. Get to know people. A lot of the times, get to know things like your ambulance service, your police services, or what. There's so much that you'll be surprised about. One of my friends that is currently in Abu Dhabi, because it's her and her daughter, the police have noticed this, and because of the missiles and so forth, they keep coming in checking, are you all right? The Like in the east, they are so pro the people, or pro the expats. They come and they check up. They're offering counseling services, they're offering advice, they're offering trauma counseling. There's just so much. Also, you're so far away from home. Some of the people can't actually up and leave or go back home. The So you are in this, you don't know what's happening. It's almost like you're in a war zone and you don't know what the future is holding. So they're offering these type of advice. Look, keep your eyes peeled, inquire. There's just so much more that, even when you're going abroad, when you have a PRO, they don't tell you certain things, because remember, your PRO sometimes is not on the ground in a certain place. They are here just being the paper pusher, I would say. So you need to find out from people that are living there. Join the social groups. Find out what is happening. Stay open to new opportunities. And that's how your confidence grows.
Regarding the driver's license in Dubai, is it as similar to South Africa, or is it much different?
So there's two ways of going about it. One, if you're going abroad, especially to the east, I would say make sure your driver's license is valid.
Okay.
So when you with me, I just did a swap over. I did the an eye test, and it was a quick. I didn't even have to go onto the ground. It was a swap over. You pay a small fee there, and you get it changed. Whereas if your license is has expired, or you don't have a
Oh,
license, it's quite a tedious process. It's a 5 week long process where you've got to go every week for your lessons. They take you, there's the groundwork like normal, and it's not easy. It costs you around about 50,000 Rand. It's dirhams. I know somebody who just paid this earlier this year. It costs you around 50,000 Rand to get your license. The eye test costs you something like, I think, about 1,600. There's other cost involved as well. So, and what's nice is, if your license is valid, you can do the swap over. You do still need to do the eye test, but they have ladies and men separately. So, and I think it's a good thing, because with a lot of the drivers, you get a lot of Bangladeshi, you get a lot of Pakistani drivers, and then they're all male. They come in there, and there's rows and rows and rows of people coming there for their license. So with the lady side, you literally there. When I went in there, there was no queue. There was one lady that was behind me, and that was it. There's So if you're female, go find out for the female testing centers, the female driving license centers where you can change your license. But as I mentioned, make sure that your driver's license is valid before you go abroad there. And when you do go abroad, try and change it as soon as you can, because that time, these things you don't actually take into account the expiries and so forth to your passport. Whereas here, I've renewed my passport in 3 days. In When you're doing it there, it can take you up to 7 or 8 months. I know somebody who's got it after 8 months, because remember, you're working out of country. You're trying to get it done here via the embassies there, and it can be quite a tedious process. So make sure, if you have the inclination of going abroad, working abroad, make sure that these things are in order. And also, the other thing, it's not easy to come back within that year very quickly. So, those things, say if you're working there and then your company says, okay, we now need to send you to London, and your passport is not valid for 6 months, then it's quite questionable what you're going to do. You actually stumped, and it shows up badly for you
Mm.
when the company needs to renew your contract. So check those things out very, very carefully.
In your experience, how do relationships, both old and new, influence personal reinvention abroad?
Ooh, I would say old relationships basically anchor you and
Mm.
remind you, who you've been and what matters. And the new ones really stretch you, and gives you that broader thinking. They reflect on who you're becoming, and what is possible out there. And I'd say that the balance between the two often shapes how authentically and confidently you reinvent yourself. So be open to new relationships. If you're female, or even if you're male and you're single, yes, there's especially in the East, there's short-term stays of people coming there to work for 2 year
Mm.
period. I've known of a good few cases where people lived with a person, and then they found out that, back in their home countries, they married with children, and or they're going to get married. And I know there was one case where the guy and the girl were actually living together for a good couple of months, and his term for the year was up, and he had to go back home. And in that time, he actually went back home, and they're still on the arranged marriage side, and his parents got him married, and she was devastated, because she found out on social media, and here she lived with the guy for such a long time. So those are the type of things that you need to become aware of, and don't be fooled. As I mentioned, technology is so advanced. There's social media. Be that MI6 and do your homework, and become an investigative officer and find out, where, what, how. If the person, I'm not saying all relationships are like that, but I'm saying keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled for hurt. The Like when I was still courting my husband in Egypt, we could not live in the same room because he was Egyptian. He is Egyptian. It was seen as prostitution, and whenever if we went to the Red Sea, we had to book 2 hotel rooms, and I would have a guard standing outside my door because, as I said, it's seen as prostitution. But if you're husband and wife, it's free reign. You can stay wherever you are. So, those are the things that you're not aware of here in South Africa. I mean, here in South Africa, it's so open. Also for the LGBTQ community, certain places they're not very welcoming with that. So
Mm.
you need to find out those sort of things. You don't want to go there and become upset with their norms, their ways. Rather, do your homework properly and do investigations before you can be stumped with the relationship issues.
Yeah. I guess it keeps you grounded by going through all these experiences.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Finally, what advice would you give someone who feels lost or disconnected while living overseas and is trying to rediscover themselves?
You know, living abroad is more common than it looks. It's
Yeah.
very, very common. A lot of people, especially I've noticed it with the teaching fraternity, where they would go abroad and within a month or within 3 months, they take that the probation period, and within that period, they want to leave immediately. They really can't handle it. The It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that you're not used to their differences. So rather rebuild yourself with small anchors. Create simple routines for yourself, like when you're going out for your morning coffee or your morning walks, your workouts, those sort of things. Engage with people. The I will tell you my example. The Every day I was going to the gym in my apartment building, and there was this beautiful Russian lady. She'd always have her headphones on, and she'd come in there and she would do her workout, and she would leave. And I greeted her on many occasions, but because she's had her headphones on, she can't hear me. And this went on for a good few months. But the one day, the access to the gym wasn't working, and we were literally trapped in this area. So she was claustrophobic, and she really got worked up. And luckily, it had double doors opening up into like an open part, a balcony. And I quickly opened up the door and grabbed a hand. I said, "Come outside." And I had all the numbers. I had the numbers of the security, the body, the people that are like the body corporate that you would get here, the maintenance manager. And I made a few phone calls, and I said, so they said they were actually swapping over the systems, and they were aware of the problem, but they were there literally within 2 minutes, and they came and opened the door for us. But as I'm saying now, in that instance, for a few months, she never spoke to me, but she was in a situation where she was claustrophobic, and I had to calm her down. So get to know people. I often say, even if you have got medical issues, let people know. Get to know who your neighbor is. Get to know the maintenance people, the car wash people, anybody and everybody. Get to know somebody and let somebody know your whereabouts, like a friend, a buddy system. So there is a few pockets of groups of people that have this type of thing. You get the ladies only, you get the mixed groups, you get the men only. So you get these pockets of groups. Go and join these groups. Find out, there's just so much there. Even if you are in an apartment building, find out what happens there, what happens around there. Even if you walk on the streets at night, you'll see there's gatherings of people, and find out what's going there. Ask the bellboys, ask the restaurant staff what is going there. They would tell you, oh, it's a group from here or there. So you get to reconnect and find out how you fit in. If you fit in, great. If you don't fit in, look for another group. But have that sort of tag team, the somebody that you can rely on, somebody like my neighbor. He's Lebanese, he's an amazing person. So we have like a tag team. He has a copy of a copy of my apartment key, and I have a copy of his. He phones me. He says, I'm leaving, I'm going abroad, I'm going on business, I'm being away, can you water my plants? I do it with the greatest of pleasure. And the same for me. He would say, we were away for 2 weeks, hubby was away, and he said, can I help out with anything? So you got to have that tag team. you help out. Sometimes it's absolutely safe in Dubai, where you get your deliveries and it stays by your door until you pick it up. It's not like the safety aspect here in South Africa, where you're going to be worried about people stealing things or anything. It's very, very safe there. But certain things, where I noticed that he would get a delivery, I'll message him. I'll say, "Hey, buddy, there's something outside your door. Can I take it inside?" And that's the type of relationship that we have, and that's what you need to do. And so often, you need somebody to, not a shoulder to cry on, but somebody that you can lean on. So it lowers the pressure much more. And it's that figure it out type of mentality that you've got to have, where like with my neighbor, for example, I've been in the building more longer than him. And I've been telling him things that, oh, you can do this, or did you know this? And did you know we can do this? So those sort of things. In my previous building, I was the newbie and I was shown the ropes because I used to ask questions. I greeted everybody. I make friends with the reception staff, make friends with the guards, and they would tell you things of what's going on, what's happening. It's like, find your people, even if it's just one or two. Join the social media groups. There's so many communities out there. We also have a huge South African following called the Sapphirs group. So if you want to find out anything, be it, I mean, the people that are on this group have been in Dubai for, or in the East, I would say, like 22 years, 28 years. And they're always helping the newbies come along. And what's nice is another group called Pay It Forward. So people come there, for your 2 years or 4 years or 5 years, and they buy furniture, they buy certain things, and then you can't really take that abroad. So they say pay it forward. They put pictures of everything and they say, here it is, I'm in this area, come and collect it. So, and it's all free. So you're paying it forward. Especially the people that know they're going to be there for a short period of time, they give off these things. They give up. The other day there was somebody giving off a 4-month-old couch because somebody's contract wasn't renewed. So people are forever giving and trying to help out, especially when it comes to like children's baby stuff. It can be very, very pricey. So people will put up things that, and the things look really, really good. I mean, with kids as well, that first year period, you're using certain things that you're no longer going to use much later in life. So people are often giving up their things. The other thing, explore. Don't just go there and be within the confines of your apartment, in the confines of your room. Try new things. There's so many things, like you get the entertainer app, you get Cabone, you get Groupon. Look at those things and try and venture out. There's a lot of free things as well. So if you find, go on to, like I mentioned, the social media, like you have Loving Dubai. You have that basically everywhere. And go on to these things and familiarize yourself with what you can and what you can't do. As I would say, often do your reflection, do journaling. It can help you see how you changing, how you evolving. It's not like you're starting from zero, but you're building on everything that you already are. It's just in a new context.
Awesome. All I gotta say is thanks so much for your time, Tammy, and I'll take you again next week.
Absolutely. Love and light to all the listeners. And we will definitely catch up next week. And happy Easter to everybody.
You too.